name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, How to Manage Your WordPress Website, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Please mark your calendars for the next webinar in our digital bootcamp series, Success Through E-commerce, on September 17th, and I'll drop that registration link in the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Cameron Nelson, CEO of Tenzing Startup Consultants. Cameron has over 19 years of experience in technology and as a senior tech consultant in Silicon Valley, helping Fortune 500 companies improve their digital marketing and e-commerce. At the same time, he also founded several tech companies, including a software as a service website for tree preservation and a blockchain platform for nonprofits. Cameron is accomplished in language, culture, has an MBA and MA. He believes new technology products have the ability to help shape our world for the better. Please join me in welcoming Cameron Nelson.
Thank you for the introduction. And hello, everybody. Welcome to this session on how to manage your WordPress website. Websites are such an important topic nowadays. I meet with business owners every week who are in the midst of building their first website or updating an older website. Often WordPress is a platform they choose. And whether or not you're already using WordPress or you've heard about it and you want to learn more, it's great that you're attending today's session. We're going to talk all about the pros, the cons, and assuming you want to continue with WordPress, I'm going to do a deep dive into the dashboard and show you the things you need to do to get your first website up and running or update an existing website. We have 4 goals for the presentation today. The first goal is we're going to discover what WordPress is and talk about if your business should be using it, or should you be picking one of the alternatives, which I'll talk about. Second, I'm going to show you what Elementor is, and we're going to talk about the basics of this very common and probably the most powerful WordPress editing interface available to you, so you're familiar with what this is when you come to use it, or if you hear about it in managing your WordPress website. Third, I'm going to show you how to set up your WordPress website. We're going to look at how to find the best theme for your business, how to set that up and install it. And fourth, I'm going to talk about how do you customize your WordPress website. We're going to look at how you edit pages, upload images, edit the text on the pages, and launch your website. So first off, I want to give a little bit of background about what WordPress is. Not everybody knows that WordPress has been around a really long time, probably 15 years. And it started as a way for people to create blogs back in the day when MySpace was popular, before Facebook was really on the scene. And this was a blogging platform, but WordPress has come a long way since then, and it's evolved into the most widely used website building platform in the world. So it has the most websites built on it than any of the competing platforms, which we'll talk about. There's several key benefits of using WordPress. The first one is because WordPress is running a ton of websites around the world, it's widely supported. So what that means is that if somebody's accessing your website on an iPhone or an Android phone or a computer or a tablet, doesn't matter what the device is, your WordPress website is going to work and function very, very well because WordPress is very widely supported across all of these ecosystems. Secondly, multiple users can contribute to your website in WordPress very easily. You can easily add new users and give them specific permissions if you want to have friends, family, or coworkers help build your website with you. Thirdly, you can choose your own website host, and you're not locked into a certain ecosystem or a certain hosting provider. So some of the big hosting providers are Google or GoDaddy, and there's a bunch of others. There's literally thousands of these hosts. But the nice thing is some are cheaper than others. Some offer features that you might need and some offer features that you don't care about. So you can choose your own host based on your price and your requirements, which is a really nice feature. Next is that plugins for WordPress websites add a lot of functionality and enhancements. So when you start building your WordPress website, you will generally start with picking a theme. And I'm going to show you the most popular places to find themes. But the theme you pick, it might be really good, it might be almost perfect, but it might be missing one key thing. Maybe it doesn't have a contact form page and you really wanted that. So you can find a plugin in the WordPress plugin store, which is probably free to add that functionality to the existing website that you have. So these plugins are a great way to expand your website now and into the future. Next, WordPress is built for search engine optimization in mind. WordPress is managed by a nonprofit organization with many professional developers. So as changes happen on the internet, Google makes changes or Microsoft Bing in how they look at web pages and index them for their search engines, WordPress is updating its own code that your website is running on to make sure it's compliant with these latest changes. So your website is always going to be pretty well fine-tuned for search engine optimization if it's running on WordPress. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of great themes to select from, and these can give you a great head start on building your website. Up to 80% of the time can be saved by picking a theme that can be free, or you can buy for a small fee, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And lastly, you don't need to know how to code anything to build a WordPress website. You can easily set it up and install it on one of the hosts like Google or GoDaddy by just a click of a button. So you don't need to be a programmer. It's a pretty good platform if it's your first website that you're building. Now, these are some great advantages, but I do want to make sure everybody's aware that building a WordPress website will require some time on your part in addition to building and launching the site initially. So plan on spending between 2 and 5 hours per month, and you'll be maintaining the site by installing updates, fixing little bugs or performance issues that you find. And in addition to this time, if you're uploading new content, pictures, images, or products you're selling, this can take additional time. So just be aware that running your own website will take some time, though WordPress is pretty low on the scale of how much time it takes compared to some other platforms. So I mentioned there are some other platforms, and WordPress is not the only game in town when it comes to a user-friendly, kind of beginner-oriented website building platform. Now, we've talked about WordPress here quite a bit. The pros are it's highly customizable, it's SEO friendly. There's also a large community of support. Those plugins are there to help you add functionality. It has a little bit of steeper learning curve compared to some of these others. And if you don't update the plugins or do that maintenance, like I mentioned, every month, you could open your website up to potential vulnerabilities, like hacking vulnerabilities or security risks. And also just be aware, WordPress, the software is free. It gets run and launched by a nonprofit organization, which is really nice. Though the host you pick could be Google, GoDaddy, and here's a couple more, Bluehost, SiteGround are popular. You're going to spend about $6 to $10 per month to host your website. And what that means is this is the computer that's sitting somewhere in the world that's storing your website files and serving them to your website visitors. So that is your main cost when running a WordPress website, is that monthly hosting fee. Now, comparing WordPress to Wix, some of you might have heard of Wix, and it's a very popular, easy website building platform. It competes with WordPress pretty directly. It also offers a drag and drop approach. So if you want to add a video or an image or a block of text to your website design, you just simply drag and drop that onto the page. So some of the pros, it's very user-friendly. It has a pretty good library of your starting website templates. It will include the hosting fee kind of bundled in together, so you don't need to have a separate host for that. You have just one plan, and it's at the Wix site. But I think the main con is that it's much less flexible than the WordPress platform. You can't switch your templates once your site is live. You don't have access to all the same plugins as WordPress, so it doesn't really have the expandability long term, which for some businesses, this can be completely fine. But for other businesses I've talked to, they've started on Wix or one of the other options and decided they had to go to WordPress in a few years and then go through a painful process of rebuilding the website on WordPress because it's piece by piece. It has to be done kind of manually. Wix starts at about, they have a free plan, but if you want to remove the branding and make it look professional, it starts at about $14 per month, and then it goes up. So if you want access to sell e-commerce, and have a shopping cart, that will cost you more money. So Wix is definitely more expensive than WordPress when it comes to the monthly fees. The next one on the list is Squarespace, which, like Wix, is a very simple building option. You can drag and drop elements onto the page. It's really built if you're going to sell with e-commerce. It helps you list your products. It helps you set the prices, inventory, and all those things. Wix will do that too, but Squarespace is really built if you're selling with e-commerce on the website. So some of the pros, it has a beautiful design. All the templates are mobile responsive, which means they'll work on a phone or a tablet just as well as a computer. But the con here is that it is less flexible than WordPress, and it has limited third-party apps and plugins and integrations. The plan started around $12 a month, though many of you will probably need $18 a month plan just to get the features that you want. So again, it's quite a bit more expensive than WordPress. And lastly is Shopify. So Shopify helps you build your business website, really focused on helping businesses to sell their products like Squarespace. And also Shopify integrates very nicely if you have a point of sale system at a physical store, a credit card swiping machine. It can track your inventory from the physical to the website and keep that all synced up for you. So Shopify is nice if you have both the physical element of your business and an online element where you're selling. This is definitely the most e-commerce focused platform out there. Every feature is focused on helping you sell e-commerce. And some of the cons are that the monthly fees can get quite expensive. You have to kind of pay more money to unlock other features. So you wouldn't be surprised to spend $30 a month for the basic plan. And often you'll have to spend upwards of $80 a month to get access to more features that most of you will need. So this is the comparison. This is the landscape. Today, we're going to talk about WordPress, so I want you to be aware of these other three options. If you have questions about using these other three options, feel free to ask me at the end of the presentation. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. So as we've all seen, it seems like AI and ChatGPT is really changing the way a lot of businesses run online and a lot of the way that things get built and created. And WordPress has also integrated AI in some pretty neat ways. The first one is that you can instantly generate text for your website or enhance existing text copy if you have some that you just kind of wrote as a quick note and you want to expand it. There's built-in buttons to generate text based on a short prompt. So if you're thinking of needing help to write the text of a new website or update text on an existing website, WordPress offers these neat features to have AI help you write that. And it usually turns out very well in my experience. Also, if you're selling to maybe other countries or selling to a demographic here in the US that speaks a language other than English, WordPress now uses AI to instantly translate all the text on your page to a very, very good degree into many of the world's common languages. So you can access markets that are speaking a different language other than English very easily with the WordPress feature there. So I wanted to expand this presentation and talk a little bit today about Elementor. Some of you have probably heard of Elementor. So what Elementor is, it's an editing interface that is built into some WordPress websites, but not all of them. I would say about 30% of the websites I've experienced in my career use Elementor. So there's a good chance you would see it and that you would be using it, but it's not the only editing interface. And so if you find a theme that has a different interface, that's fine. There's about half a dozen out there that are popular. I'm going to talk about Elementor today because many of you will probably encounter it, and it's one of the most powerful interfaces to edit and build your WordPress website. Now, any interface will essentially have the same power. I think Elementor lays it out very elegantly and gives you a lot of the options you need very intuitively. But if you end up with a different interface, don't worry, because you can still edit text, images, and do all the same basic things you'll need to do there. Some of the core features that Elementor offers is that, as you see here in the screenshot, you can, if you want to add a new heading text, an image, a video, or a button that links somewhere else on the website, or many other options, you can drag and drop these elements onto either a blank website template or your existing a theme that you found that looks really pretty, but you just think, oh, I wish it had a video here in this spot. You can drag that element. You don't need to know how to code anything. You don't need to be a developer. You can just add the video section. And I'm going to walk you through all of this here in a moment. So don't worry if it's kind of going over your head right now if you're not familiar with this. So you can drag and drop these elements very, very easily. All the websites built in Elementor have this responsive design, which will help you to look at them if they were being viewed on a mobile phone, a tablet, or a desktop, and see how the website changes. Because if any of you have visited one website on your desktop computer and then again on your smartphone, you'll see that the website reorients and rearranges its elements to look better on your mobile device. So Elementor gives you just a little button to click to see that live preview instantly as you're designing your website. And then if there's something that is looking weird on mobile, you can very easily fix it. And you don't need to take time to troubleshoot extensively because you can just do it as you build the site. And again, it has real-time editing, so you'll see changes as you make them. They'll appear live on the site, and you can just really get a good sense for, is this a good change you're making, or is this paragraph too long perhaps, or doesn't need to be longer, things like that. So Elementor gives you all of these tools at your fingertips. So getting started with Elementor is really easy. Like I said, it comes pre-installed with about 30% of the themes in the world right now. So if that's the case, you will be able to edit your pages with it right off the bat. You can also find it manually by searching the plugin library. You can upload and install it. And then you'll have the ability to edit a page with Elementor. And then you'll see here in the final screenshot, you have the selection of the widgets on the left, and you can drag and drop them onto your page. And I'll show you how this works, how to get started with Elementor in just a few minutes. So that was just an overview of Elementor. The next thing that I get asked about a lot when building a WordPress website is, what should I do to be in compliance with security? I don't want my website to be hacked. I don't want anything malicious to happen on my website. So why is it important to focus on security for your WordPress website? Well, as of the last survey I saw, about 43% of the world's websites are running on WordPress. So it's a very big target for hackers, because if they can hack WordPress, they get access to potentially 43% of the world's websites. So it's a target there. And having a secure website protects your reputation online for your business. We've all seen big businesses, all big and small, in the news when they report, a data breach and customer information stolen. It never looks good for the business reputation. You also want to protect your user data and ensure that your website is not randomly down, causing you to lose sales and your revenue. So there's a few things that you can do to enhance the security of your WordPress website. Number one is to update the WordPress platform and update your plugins. And whenever there's an update available, there'll be a big banner when you log into WordPress saying, please update WordPress. There's a new version. And even the plugins you've installed will have an update available occasionally, and they'll say the same thing. So all you need to do is click the button to update that plugin or update WordPress. It takes a few seconds, and then it's done. But it is a manual process, and that's something you should do at least once a month, is log into your WordPress administrative dashboard where you edit the website, and then you'll see these updates when they're available. Secondly, I've seen this mistake quite often, is that people use one of these very common or generic passwords for their main administrative login to WordPress. It is a mistake, because if anybody was targeting your website, the first thing they'll probably do is guess the default administrative username, which is admin, and then try guessing the most common passwords. And if you did use a common password and the username admin, you just have an easy target for somebody to log into your site and then possibly steal customer data or cause the site to go down or whatever they want it to do. So make up a strong, complex password. When it comes to creating the username, don't use admin. You can use something a bit more random and complex for that. Make it very hard for any hacker to try to guess that information. Third, I get asked, are there plugins to help enhance security on WordPress? And there sure are. They do various different things. Some of them will prevent the number of login attempts. So if somebody was trying to use admin and guess the most common 50 passwords and just go one by one, it will block them after 3 or 4 attempts. And so these plugins will take measures like that, as well as many other more advanced security measures. Some of them are free, and some of them you have to pay a small monthly or annual fee to have them running on your website and protecting it against many different types of threats. So if your website is the type of website where you store more sensitive information, you're not just selling, kids' toys, maybe you're selling something more sensitive to your clients and your customers, you might consider enhancing your security with a plugin like this, but they're not strictly necessary for most websites. And fourth, as I mentioned, limiting login attempts is one of the more common security practices. It's not built in by default on WordPress. So the security plugins in step number 3 have this as an option. And there's a couple others that just specifically limit login attempts. So if that's your only goal, you can pick one of these. And they are free. And so you can use them to limit your logins. So this is kind of a summary of the security measures I do recommend you consider taking with any WordPress website. The next thing I want to discuss is a question I get asked a lot, which is what's the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com? Because while they have the same logo and the same kind of name, they're very different. WordPress.org is a nonprofit organization, and WordPress.com is a for-profit group that's kind of affiliated with them. And there's a few main differences to be aware of. With WordPress.org, you have full theme support. So you can use any website theme you find by browsing the internet, and I'll show you the places to find those here in a moment. So any theme you find you can use at WordPress.org. On WordPress.com, they limit you to just a handful of selections that they've selected for you. So you go from thousands of options down to dozens. WordPress.org, you can use any plugin in the plugin store, which is a great benefit. At WordPress.com, there are no plugins allowed. At WordPress.org, you have to pay those hosting fees that I mentioned range between $6 and $10 a month. Whereas at WordPress.com, it's free hosting up to 3 gigabytes of storage. At WordPress.org, you have full freedom to sell products and have a shopping cart, and take credit card payments. You can set up anything you want. At WordPress.com, you actually have to spend $45 a month in that plan to get access to e-commerce features like that. WordPress.org gives you complete branding freedom, meaning you don't have a WordPress logo on it. Nobody can tell it was even built on WordPress. In fact, many of the largest websites in the world from Fortune 500 companies are built on WordPress, and you would never even know. So you can do that on WordPress.org. At WordPress.com, they put their logo around and they say built by WordPress, unless you remove their branding by paying more money. At WordPress.org, you can get access to any search engine optimization features under the sun. You can have Google Analytics, you can have advanced SEO. There's a lot of options, and a lot of time and care can be taken to tweak that. Whereas at WordPress.com, they give you very limited control over your SEO. WordPress.org gives you full access to analytics. As I mentioned, Google Analytics, there's also Facebook Pixel, lots of different ways to track your website visitors and their behavior. WordPress.com doesn't give you access to those. They have their own built-in analytic kind of dashboard, but it's not as robust as these other options. And lastly, WordPress.org, you do the maintenance, installing those updates. WordPress.com does that for you. So you can see there's some pretty big differences. And for almost everybody here today, WordPress.org is the way you want to go, because you're going to probably need e-commerce. You're probably going to want the full theme support and all the plugins and things like that. WordPress.com, I find, doesn't work for many people, and it's kind of confusing branding, which is why I wanted to have this slide and discuss it. I've met a lot of businesses who got started on WordPress.com accidentally, only to find out they were really looking for WordPress.org. And there's no transition tool to just kind of move a website over from one to another. You have to essentially rebuild it all. So don't fall into that mistake. Be sure you pick the right option. Now, as I've mentioned, WordPress.org has a lot of themes available. Here are 3 of the sites I like using the most when looking for a WordPress theme. And this whole presentation will be emailed to you after it's completed, so you don't need to worry about writing down these links. You'll get them in the email. So the first site I like using is the official WordPress site. It has a selection of a couple dozen pretty nice looking themes, though generally speaking, they're very minimalistic and they don't have a lot of features, pages, or not a lot of character. The next site is very popular. It's called Theme Forest. And this has a collection of thousands of themes from developers who submit them. They're from all over the world. You can find themes in many different categories here. So if your business is a bakery or a nail salon or a used car dealership, you can find a theme that's actually made for that business, probably multiple options. So you don't have to think of how to build your website from scratch. You can pick a theme that's already been laid out and designed to kind of meet the needs of your target market, which is really nice. Some of these themes will be for free, and others you'll pay a small one-time fee to buy, typically between like $20 and $60. And the last site I like is ColorLib. ColorLib also has themes submitted from developers all around the world, very professional looking themes, very modern, clean, and with the features that most of you are looking for. So these are the three sites I'd recommend to do your theme search, and also spend a good amount of time looking for your theme. You don't need to rush this. Once you set your website up with a theme and customize it on that theme, you can't really switch themes after that point without having to rebuild a lot of the website. So spend your time looking and picking the best theme, getting some feedback from friends, family, coworkers, and helping you make the best selection possible before you start editing and customizing that. So now that we've talked about how to find your theme and some of the considerations of what to look for there, I want to talk more about how SEO works on WordPress, because this is a very common question I get, and it's very important to understand. SEO means search engine optimization. And what it does is it drives organic traffic to your website from a search engine, typically Google, but you also have Microsoft Bing, you have even Yahoo, you have smaller search engines out there too, but they all use SEO. WordPress being an SEO friendly platform helps get the basics there right from the beginning, but you can always optimize it farther. And I want to tell you the 4 key things in optimizing your SEO, just so you have this understanding going into building your website. The first factor in giving your website a high SEO ranking is the quality of its content. This generally means the text that's written out on the pages. If you have spelling or grammar errors, it'll lower the quality of the content. If you have a lot of caps or exclamation points that look kind of annoying or obtrusive, that will lower the quality of the content. So what you want to do is just use clean, proper, simple English. You don't want to use too many acronyms or slang. You want to keep the quality high and make sure there's no spelling or grammar mistakes. The second factor is the level of user engagement. So the search engines know how much time someone spends on your website. They can tell if somebody spent 3 seconds there and left, or if they spent 3 minutes there and browsed multiple pages. So the longer people spend on your website and the more pages they go to, the higher your level of engagement, which indicates to the search engine that this is a good, relevant website for that person who went there. So they should show it to people more often. So you want a high level of engagement. When you install a platform like Google Analytics, you can see the level of engagement. You can see it going up and down daily. And there's some tips and tricks to increase the level of engagement, but pretty much having relevant content or including more videos can help encourage people to spend more time on your website. The third factor is mobile friendliness. So how friendly is your website to mobile devices? If you're building it on WordPress now and you pick a theme that was created within the last 2 or 3 years, it's most likely going to be a mobile friendly theme and it'll work fine on a mobile device. But if you built your website longer than that, or your theme if your theme was from 5 years ago, a lot has changed in the mobile landscape. So it's very likely your theme and website wouldn't work as well, wouldn't be mobile friendly. The search engines can tell these things and they will decrease your SEO score if it's deemed not a mobile friendly website. So to address this, make sure that whatever theme you pick has been launched or updated within the last couple of years and is not too old. And the fourth item that really affects your SEO score is the number and the quality of your inbound links. So search engines like to see that your website is being linked to from many, many other websites. And this indicates that your site is a site of authority, that other websites are sending traffic to you because they want their visitors to go to your site. So you can seek out ways to get inbound links by collaborating with partners in your business, distributors, having affiliates, having social links on your social media pages coming back to your website. getting as many inbound links as you can. I would say getting at least 10 inbound links is a good place to start, but work up, keep working on that. Find partnerships where you can link to somebody's website in a related field and they can link to yours. These are all good ways to get more inbound links. And if you follow these 4 techniques, it will drastically help increase your website's SEO score. And this is not just for WordPress. This is for websites in general. These will help increase your SEO score. So next, I'm going to be focusing on this WordPress dashboard. If any of you have ever edited or maintained a WordPress website before, this will be instantly familiar to you. They don't update the look of this very often, and so it has not changed in many years. This is the default toolbar over on the left. There's a lot of different links here, and you might have more or less links depending on the theme you install. Some themes will include additional things here, and some plugins will include additional tabs here on the left side. But the ones that are the most important to understand for a first-time WordPress user are the media page, the pages, the appearance, the plugins, the users, and the settings. And these all need to be properly set up and configured before your website will be ready to be launched. So I'm going to be focusing on these elements and areas more and showing you how to interact with them properly. The first one is the media management. This is where you go to simply add images and sometimes videos that will be displayed on your website. You can then also delete images from the media section if they're not needed anymore. And you can also do some very simple modifications like changing the file name or cropping that image here in the media. The next section is page management. And this is a very important section where you'll spend a lot of your time as you edit the content of different pages on your website. And so if you install a theme, that theme might come with 20 or 30 pages that are example pages or pages you can customize, but you don't necessarily need to use them all. So you'll see here that the privacy policy page is listed in a draft mode. That's fine. That means it's not even public or launched. It's just kind of hanging out there. And you can have a lot of pages in draft mode that are just kind of hanging out here, and that's fine. That doesn't cause any problems. And it's kind of useful if in a few years you decide, oh, now I need a privacy policy page. Now you have it ready to go. You can just edit it so it's appropriate and it's all finished, and then you can publish it to put it on your website. So we'll look at the pages in more detail in a moment as I'll go through a live demo of this and show you how it works. The next section that you'll spend some time in is under the Appearance tab, because here you can install the theme that you've selected, or you can browse themes that are available on the WordPress.org theme selection, which is one of those 3 options I mentioned before. You can browse them right here, and you can install the theme that you've selected here in the Appearance tab. Now, the plugins section is, I think, a very important section. Some of you will be using this a lot as you search for and install plugins. Others of you might not need many plugins, so you won't have much need to come in here. But this is where you search for and install plugins that add additional functionality to your website's theme. Also, here you'll see any updates that are available. It's always a good idea to update these plugins. Again, it increases the security of your website because an outdated plugin might be running code that some hack found a vulnerability in. And often the creators of plugins or WordPress or even Microsoft Windows, they are monitoring hacking attempts. And when they find, oh, there's a vulnerability in our code, it's been there for years, they will patch it. And that's why we have so many patches for all of our devices. So if you don't update this, you're not getting those patches, and it can leave your website open to some sort of a vulnerability or hacking attempt. And next we have the user management section where you can come in and create a new user. And this is useful if you have someone who's helping you on your website. Could be temporary, could be long-term. You give them their own username and password, which helps increase the security of your site. You never want to give out your own administrative username and password because if you forget that it's floating around out there and you forget to change the password, now you don't know who has it, So by creating a new user, you can delete that username and that access when you no longer need that person to have access. It just helps you maintain the security, and it's a good practice to use. There's also no cost for creating these users in WordPress. And the last section here are the general settings. Here you can edit some very basic things like your site title. This is the name of your website that appears at the top in the browser window. You can add a tagline here, and you can set some various other little preferences like your time zone and things like that. It's always a good idea to come in here before you launch your website, make sure all these settings look good, and then at the bottom you can click Save Changes, and these will be properly configured for you. So the goal of many of you today is probably to be selling products on your website, or at least advertising for your business. But if you're going to be selling products directly on their website and you decide to use WordPress, then a plugin called WooCommerce is the largest e-commerce plugin that's used in WordPress. It's not the only option, but it is one of the best options. And like I said, the more people are using it than any other plugin. And I personally like it a lot. So why would you want to choose WooCommerce when you have other options? WooCommerce is powerful and very customizable. It can integrate with a point of sale system in a physical store, so it can manage your inventory and quantity of items, sync your prices. It integrates very nicely with WordPress. It is built for WordPress websites, and it helps give you the shopping cart and the credit card payment processing that you will need in a e-commerce website built in WordPress. Now, some themes you will download, they'll say it comes with WooCommerce kind of built in or integrated. That's great. That means the theme developer has kind of built that theme for an e-commerce business, and they figure you're going to want WooCommerce, so they'll just build it in there for you. It does save you a couple of steps, but you can also add WooCommerce to any website that doesn't have a shopping cart kind of checkout process and pages built in. So it's always an option there to expand any existing website as well. But generally speaking, you'll see it as an included feature in your theme. And using WooCommerce is really easy. You can set your, you go through just a wizard. You set things like what state you live in, so it can calculate sales tax. And yes, it calculates all the sales tax for you. You don't need to worry about any of that. It has all the tax rules, and it updates those as soon as the IRS updates anything. So you're always collecting the appropriate tax. I get asked that a lot. You choose a payment gateway. So WooCommerce isn't a credit card processor. You will have an account either with Stripe or PayPal or other options, but those are the two biggest. And Stripe and PayPal charge a general standard credit card processing fee around 2.5 to 3.5%. So you'll sync up WooCommerce with your chosen payment gateway there. And then you can do the fun stuff like setting up your shipping rates, the prices of your products. You can build out all the product descriptions and images here in WooCommerce. It gives you all of those screens and dashboards, so you can have your products available on the website, somebody can buy them, and you can get paid. So if you were to set up WooCommerce and you are starting from a clean slate, you'll be looking at a screen like this, where you have the products tab on the left-hand side dashboard, and you have a button that says Add New. So some of the things that you're going to want to set will be the product name. You can type a description and insert images for the product. You'll be able to set the price of the product, any shipping details. And then there's a button over here, the blue button that says Publish. The product won't be visible on the website until you publish it there. So you can always click the button that's above Publish, a little to the left that says Save Draft. And this would indicate you are still working on this product. It shouldn't be launched yet, and you can edit it. But when you're ready to, you can click the Publish button, and then people will be able to buy it on your website. This is some of the additional product information you can set for any product. The price, if it's a sale, you can set a sale price. You can set the number of inventory you have, any shipping rules. Also, if it's something like a digital download, a song, a movie, or whatever it is, it's not going to be physically delivered. You can set the link here, and then they can get the link displayed on the screen once they buy it. They can get that link emailed to them. You can have them get the digital link however you would like to send it. So I know we covered a lot of information there, and what I want to do now is just to help reinforce some of the core principles that I talked about. I want to come over here to a live demo website that's running on WordPress and is running Elementor. So we can take a look at these features. The first thing I want to point out is that the toolbar on the left does have more items than the screenshot because the theme that I'm running here inserted these for me. Some of them are they're going to be theme specific, so I won't go into the really theme specific options here. But with all the theme documentation you get, it'll talk about what each one of these is for, essentially. So you will learn, oh, I need to go into the liquid to do this or that. But the themes, the areas that are common with all the websites are going to be these. So first, we're going to look at the media library. And as we can see, as the images load up, the media library is where all of the images for the website are stored. If I want to add a new image to the website, I first need to add it to the media library. So I can click the button at the top that says Add New Media File. And then I can select the file, which is typically going to be a JPEG or a PNG image. Or if you want to have a short video and you want it uploaded here, you can also upload a video. You'll see that there's a maximum upload file size. For me, it's 138 megabytes, which is a very, very large file for an image. But in some cases, you might need a file this big. This is set by that host that you pick. So generally speaking, you won't have an issue. But most images you upload should probably be less than 1 megabyte if they're going to be displayed just on the website. Even half a megabyte or 500 kilobytes is ideal. So you never want to be uploading images that are very big because that'll take a long time to display your website when all those have to download. So this is what you do here in the media section. You can also remove an image as well as uploading new images. Next, we're going to click on Pages. And here in the sample website, I don't have many pages. You can see I only have 3. I have the home page, privacy policy, which is in draft mode, so that's not visible, and a sample page, which is also just kind of a demonstration page. Now, one thing to note here is that in WordPress, you can delete any pages you want, but you cannot delete the front page. This is essentially for people who are familiar with the old school internet lingo, the index.html page. This indicates that this page is the first page somebody sees when they go to your website. You're not able to have a website on WordPress without one being designated as the front page. The fact that its name here is homepage is irrelevant. The fact that WordPress knows it's the front page is the main thing. We can change homepage to whatever we wanted. So what we'll do now is look at how we can edit the homepage. As you see, there's a few options here. I have one that says Edit, Quick Edit, Trash, View It, and Edit with Elementor. So because my theme is running Elementor, I have this option right here. If your theme doesn't have Elementor, this option won't be there. And your theme might be using a different editing interface, in which case it would say something different here. Edit with Bakery, for example. That's another common one. So whatever you see here is going to be the editing interface you want to go into. And because this one is running Elementor, I'm going to click on Edit with Elementor. And this is loading up our graphical user interface for editing this homepage of the website. You will do this individually for the different pages of the website to edit them. So here we have the website. And as you see, as I move the mouse over text or over images, these little pink boxes appear. This is because I'm editing the site. Normal visitor to the site wouldn't see any of these pink boxes. But I'm allowed to scroll down and look at different elements. So if I want to edit anything in Elementor, it's very easy. I can click on a block of text. For example, I'll click here. And then I have the ability to just type in whatever text I want here. So let's say I wanted to put a dot, dot, dot after the text. You see, if I type it in here, it immediately shows up here in the live view. And this is what I mentioned before. The Elementor gives you the live view so you can see exactly how your changes look. Now you can make as many changes as you want on a website, and when you're ready to launch it or have these seen by the public, you click the button at the bottom, the pink button that says Update. If you don't click Update and you try to leave this page, it'll give you an error. It'll say your changes aren't saved, you're sure you want to leave. So you always would update when you're ready to make that change. So your theme will look something like this. It'll have areas for text and areas for images, and you can edit the text on any one of these just by clicking on it and then you'll be a box here and you can type in the new text. But let's say you really like a video or some sort of new element. We'll just say a video now because that's a simple example. But you can see here on the left side, I have got a lot of different things I can add. There's a category here called basics, which include things we've already looked at, like an image, a text, and a video, a divider, a button. There's also more advanced things. Some of them are locked in this theme. So what we'll do is let's say we want to add a video. And as I take it, now I'm dragging it, and anywhere this pink bar appears, I can put the video. So there's certain places where it would break things and certain places where it's allowed. So I'll put it right here. And it gave me a video placeholder. And it says very conveniently, choose your video. So what I need to do is decide where this video is going to be coming from. Over on the left, you can see I have some options if it's going to be streamed from YouTube, Vimeo, or another streaming platform. Here I would set the link. So if, say it's on YouTube, I would just copy and paste the link to that YouTube video. And there's a few other options. If I want to put a start time starting in the middle of the video or in the video before it's over on YouTube, I can do all those things too. So this is just one example. I just added that video by dragging and dropping. This is the Elementor interface. It's easy to update text. It's easy to update images and add elements. So now I'll click back and it's going to give me a little warning that says your changes haven't been saved. That's fine. I will not save those changes. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. And again, I got to that interface by clicking right here, Edit with Elementor, next to the page that I wanted to edit. The next tab we're going to look at is the Appearance tab. And this is where you'll go to search for a theme if you want to look at the WordPress.org themes, or if you selected a theme on one of those other websites, you're going to download it as a zip file. And this is where you'll go to install that theme in a zip file format. So if you've done that and you have your theme zip file, let's say you went to Theme Forest and you picked a great theme, maybe you bought it or maybe it was free, then you'll download the zip to your computer, and then you're going to click this button here that says Add New Theme. And when I click on that button, it's going to come up with a bunch of the WordPress themes they're recommending, but I'm going to ignore that because I found my theme on a different website. I'm going to click on the button at the top here that says Upload Theme. And here it says if you have the theme in a zip format, you can upload it here. So I would choose the file and upload it. And depending on the size, that upload could take a few minutes. And then once it's uploaded, the button Install will be activated and you can install it. So that's really going to be the first step if you're building the website from scratch, is you'll upload and install your theme. And then once you've done that, when you go back to Pages here, you'll have all of these pages will be now populated by that theme. So you'll probably have more than just 3. You'll have all those pages that the theme came with, and you can edit them probably with Elementor, like we just discussed. Now that's the main thing you do under the Appearance. Next, we're going to look at plugins, and this is where you go to update plugins. As you can see, all of the plugins with a beige kind of banner here say that there's an update available. So it'd be good practice to go ahead and update these plugins to make sure my website is compatible and secure. If I want to add a new plugin, I can click the button at the top that says Add New Plugin. And this takes me to the plugin store, which is a really handy way of looking through thousands and thousands of plugins on WordPress for many different purposes. But I recommend, instead of looking here and seeing plugins that look interesting or cool and then clicking the install button, rather than doing that, think of what feature your website needs to have to meet a business objective, to help your business be profitable. Determine the feature, and then you can search up here for that type of feature. So let's say you want e-commerce. You don't have a e-commerce store yet on your website. So we see if I search for e-commerce that there are 2,230 results. So there's a lot of e-commerce plugins. You might wonder, well, how do you pick the one that's going to work best for you? If you don't have a recommendation from a friend or a developer to say, oh, this is a plugin that would be good for you to use, then I would look for the plugins that have the most number of reviews and the highest star rating. They're generally going to be the most reliable and robust plugins. As we can see, WooCommerce by far and away has the most and highest reviews of the e-commerce group here. And that makes sense because it is the most widely used e-commerce plugin. But whatever plugin you search for, you'll have to make that decision of which one you want to install. Many of these are free, though some will have a small fee to use them. It just depends on the plugin. You can click the button here that says more details if you're trying to decide which plugin you need. And here you'll be able to read a little bit more information about the plugin and the features to make sure that it's meeting the, going to satisfy the feature you need on your website to, again, to meet that business objective. Once you found one that you want, you can click the install button. And just like with that theme, once you install it, it'll add probably add a new tab here on the left that will help you set it up and manage it. But every plugin does a different thing. So if it's a security plugin, they'll probably put a new tab here on the left. But different plugins will interact with your WordPress website in different ways, just how it was set up by the plugin developer. The next section we'll talk about briefly is the users. And here we have the ability to see who's a user. You see that there's one main user. This will always be probably you as the business owner. You'll be the administrator. There'll also be other people you can add if you just want somebody to be able to edit content of a page, but not create new pages or install plugins. You can make them an editor. And you can add new users by clicking this Add New User button up at the top. And you can just fill in the information. Here you can select the role. So again, administrator is the highest. I wouldn't do any administrator unless you really, really need to, other than you. That's you really need to trust that person. So if they're just a developer or helping with the website, editor should be fine. And then you can click this button to add new user. There's no cost to do this, and you can have pretty much unlimited users to help you build your website. So it's a pretty neat tool. And the last thing we need to look into here is the general settings. Again, you'll set things like your site title and your tagline. Make sure that the website address looks good. This should be set by default. Now, the administration email address is if you have a contact form, this is where those emails will go. If somebody submits the contact form, they'll go here. And a lot of people get confused because they say, well, I don't know where my contact form goes. Well, check general settings and make this administrator email address whatever you want to have those contact form notifications be sent to you. And once these settings all look good, you can click the Save Changes button down at the bottom. So again, that was a quick look at the WordPress dashboard, some of those key areas you need to know about to manage your WordPress website and everything that goes along with it. Now, I'd be happy to take your questions and get through as many of them as we have time for today. And I hope this was useful information. I thank you all for attending.
Thanks, Cameron. We have about 12 questions right now. So going back to the beginning. So let's see. The first question was, what are some great hosts? And again, you might have covered these later, but I'm just going to go ahead and read them off just in case not. And it's always good, to be reminded. What are some great hosts? I have Bluehost, and it's expensive, especially with spam removal. Or can I remove the spam myself?
Okay, so yeah, the first question is, what are some great hosts? A few I talked about in the presentation were Google and GoDaddy. I use GoDaddy almost exclusively and through hundreds of WordPress websites. GoDaddy is cost competitive, so they're not the most expensive out there. They're very cost competitive. They have a lot of good features. They have very good uptime and security, good customer support. So I've never really had a problem with GoDaddy. They're not quite the cheapest out there. You can find a couple $1 a month cheaper plans here or there. Bluehost is one of the more affordable platforms out there. But again, I think GoDaddy is within about $1 a month. So I would recommend GoDaddy as probably my first recommendation for the host. If for some reason you find them not to your liking, then I would look at Google's WordPress hosting plans. Any of them will work, and your website will look and function identical on any plan, essentially. So it's more about the price and the features that they're going to offer you.
Let's see. Would you still use WordPress for blogs?
It's a fine blogging platform. If you look over here on this, look at the screen share again, there's a tab that I didn't talk about. It's called Posts. And Posts is one of those default tabs on every WordPress installation. And this is the blogging section where each post is a new blog post. So I can add a new post, a new blog to my website by clicking the Add New Post button up at the top. And it gives me the template for my new blog post. So blog posts are they're baked into WordPress. They're still here. Not everybody uses it for a blog anymore, but I think it's a good way if you want a business website and you want that blog element and the component of a blog on it, then WordPress is definitely a good option because it just has it right here for you.
What's the pros and cons between Expression and Elementor?
So Elementor is the editing interface that I've used most widely, and obviously the one I discussed today. Expression is one of the others, one of the competitors. I don't have enough knowledge with that and experience with that to give a direct comparison. You might be able to find that by Googling it. There's probably somebody who has done a comparison of those two. I would imagine they're about 90% similar. Many of them are. You have a section where you can drag and drop your common elements like a video or a text or an image. You can edit things very simply. You can save your changes. That's all an interface does for you. And so I'd assume that they work pretty similarly, but I don't have enough knowledge to give you more in-depth comparison.
Okay. I see that Elementor wants me to load a lot of other plugins. Are these necessary? I like to have a lean site.
That's great that you bring up the number of plugins. And yes, I will answer your question, but first, it's good to have fewer plugins than more. As this user pointed out, they like to have a lean site. So installing too many plugins, they can run code in the background of your website, which can cause it to load slowly. And they can also, if you have too many plugins, they could cause some stability issues where a page might not appear properly or something like that. So fewer plugins, the better. So if Elementor wants you to install a bunch of plugins, generally it's because the theme you've selected is using Elementor, which I would expect. And the theme developer has said, well, these are plugins that we think people are going to need to use with our theme. Could be WooCommerce. That's a very common plugin that's kind of included in the theme. Could be many others. It could be one of the security plugins I mentioned. So generally speaking, it says these are required and these are optional plugins with that theme. And obviously the required ones, the theme won't work without it. So you do need to say yes and install those. The optional ones I would look at individually one by one. For example, an optional one for your website could be WooCommerce. And you might say, I'm not going to sell e-commerce. I don't need a shopping cart. Then don't even install WooCommerce because you know right off the bat that that plugin is not going to be necessary. So any of the optional ones, look at in detail like that. If you're not sure what it does, you can Google it and find more information. But yes, the fewer plugins you have installed and running, the better. You can see in the example site here, there are, I would say about eight or nine plugins. This is pretty common. I wouldn't worry if you have 8 or 9. I have seen websites with 40 or 50, and that does worry me because, yeah, obviously somebody installed a lot of plugins without being very careful of did they need them all. And that can cause the site to load slowly or cause weird errors to occur as plugins are conflicting with each other. It doesn't happen often. So that's why the fewer plugins, the better is the good general advice.
Great. How can I determine if I'm already at WordPress.com or WordPress.org? I've been doing the site through a WordPress interface for 3 years.
So if you are on WordPress.org, you can see up at the top of my browser window, the link here. It says at the end /wp-admin. That indicates you're on WordPress.org. If you're on WordPress.com, it won't say that at all. And it won't have the same interface. So if your interface has the left-hand menu and all the screens we just went through, you're on WordPress.org. If it has not that same URL and a different interface, then you're probably on WordPress.com. But yeah, I couldn't be 100% sure you're on WordPress.com. But if you're looking at this interface, you're definitely on WordPress.org.
Let's see. To clarify, and this is not the same person that just questioned the last, asked the last question, but to clarify, WordPress.org is the way to go for a small business over WordPress.com because it has more freedom and website control than WordPress.com without hosting fees. I'm going to go on and tell me if you want me to split these up. However, wouldn't WordPress.com provide the security protections and hosting needed if you're not great at that yourself?
Yes, WordPress.com is more of a, you don't need a complicated website, you don't need to sell your products, and you want more things taken care of for you. It is a bit more aimed at that crowd. Though, like I said, to even have the e-commerce enabled on WordPress.com is around $45 a month fee. So that's very, very high. So if you're looking to sell online, if you're looking to have a business website online, I feel like WordPress.com isn't a good choice. Also, you have to pay to remove their branding for WordPress.com. You don't get access to all the SEO tools or the analytic tools and the whole comparison. And I did the comparison to try to point out, well, WordPress.com has a few little advantages, but more downsides for this group, I feel, for this community. But if you're a business owner and you want to use WordPress.com, you're absolutely welcome to. I have just met maybe a dozen to 15 who have started there and not understood the difference and had to switch to WordPress.org, which is why I draw the comparison so you're aware of what you're getting into.
Great. Let's see. Is there a way to get WooCommerce without spending $40 a month?
Yes, I believe the latest price of using WooCommerce was a fee on their sales. So there's a general credit card processing fee for the Visa or MasterCard network, which is like 2.5% to 3%. And I believe WooCommerce's fee was like they added on an additional 0.1% or 0.2% to your sales. That might have changed. It has been a few months, and they do change their pricing and their plans frequently. So that was the last of my update on their pricing plans, was a small fee on your sales. There were upgrades too. So for example, if you wanted to have a subscription package that billed your customer every month the same amount because they're subscribed to your monthly package, having access to WooCommerce's subscription billing was like another fee. I think it was $100 a year. So they do have add-ons. So if you see $40 a month, you might not be looking at just the basic WooCommerce package. You might be looking at one of these add-ons. So just take a look, because I think the basic one, it just charges a small fee on your sales.
Are there tools where I can see my site's SEO scores or relevant metrics?
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of sites. If you Google find my website's SEO score, they're gonna scan your site. They're gonna give you a beautiful kind of report. And some of them will do this for free. Some sites will want you to pay to see the report. Now, here's the thing to know. All of those sites are guessing what they think Google is rating your site at for SEO. Because Google or Microsoft, they don't disclose publicly their exact algorithm for determining SEO scores. And in fact, they change this all the time, right? It's completely up to them how they want to do that. So these other sites are guessing based on Google's most, publicized information of how they determine SEO. So all that is to say, they won't be 100% accurate, and they won't even agree with each other. If you do this with 5 different sites, they'll come up with 5 different answers for what your SEO is like. That said, the one I do use when determining SEO and doing SEO work is called SEMrush. SEM, Search Engine Management. It's kind of like SEO, but in a broader scale. So SEMrush.com. It's a good platform. A lot of professional developers use it for finding ways to improve SEO. It's not the only one out there, though. So that's one I'd recommend, but you're welcome to Google and find another one. There's dozens and dozens that do very similar things.
Great. Let's see. How do we handle items that may be considered copyrighted, like art, photos, music, ideas, products? What items are not allowed or cannot be part of our website?
It's a great question. I don't specifically give legal advice, and I'm not a legal expert. So for some of these questions, you'll probably want to speak to an attorney who can really tell you specifically. But I know in a general sense, anything that's licensed under the Creative Commons. So if you look at Wikipedia and you look at an image on Wikipedia and it says, here's a famous painting or something, but it's licensed under the Creative Commons license, what those mean is that you can use that, you can copy that on your own website legally. Creative Commons license allows you to do that. But if you find an image or something else online that doesn't say it's a Creative Commons license, you need to speak to a legal expert, I think, because there's a lot of variation there, and I don't know all the details. But the Creative Commons things you're in the clear with.
Great. What is the Elementor Pro?
So Elementor Pro, you don't need to use it, but as you might have seen, there were some of the widgets I could drag in, like I added the video. There's a whole bunch more that had a lock icon. You have to upgrade to get those. Honestly, in making close to 100 websites in WordPress, I've never even had to upgrade to WordPress Pro. It just hasn't been a requirement. Now, you might find that you like really need that thing and that you have to upgrade to get it, but generally speaking, it shouldn't be an issue. You should not need to upgrade to the Elementor Pro.
When adding a video in Elementor, are you able to upload a video to your media section in WordPress and then pull it from there?
It's a great question. So there is the file upload limit, and you saw in my site here 138 megabytes. If your video is under that size, you can definitely upload it, and you can post it on your website. But if your video is over that, you have to host it on a site like YouTube. So YouTube is good because it does keep your keep the bandwidth just stuck on YouTube, and it doesn't have to go to use your own website's bandwidth, which can get expensive on certain hosting plans.
How is backup and restore done?
So if you're interested in making a backup of your entire website, it's not a built-in feature to WordPress, but it's a very common plugin. So you can search for a backup plugin. It will take all of your images, your pages, anything you uploaded like the videos, it'll put that in a zip file, and then usually let you download the zip file to your computer. So if you made a change one day that wrecked your website, you can restore the whole website from the zip file backup. You can also find hosting plans, like if you use GoDaddy or Google, they can, for a fee, take a daily backup and just store those on their server for you. And then you can restore from a backup, and it's more kind of just stored in the cloud. So those are some of the ways that you can use backup and restore on your WordPress website.
Does WordPress work with Square?
Yeah, so on WordPress, by itself doesn't have e-commerce. That's what you would use WooCommerce for. So WooCommerce, as I recall, works with Stripe and PayPal. Now, I know those are the two that they kind of recommend, but I think under the advanced options, you can add a Square or these other kind of merchant accounts. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think they work with Square because that's one of the big ones. So again, that wouldn't be a WordPress feature, but that would be in the WooCommerce e-commerce plugin that you would set up the integration between WooCommerce and your payment processor. Could be Square, Stripe, PayPal. Yeah.
How can you create a site to raffle items? Or is this a topic for another day?
So I haven't done that personally yet, but I would think if you look in the theme websites where they have the professionally developed themes, like themeforest.net, just search for a raffle. And I would guess that there have been some developers who made a whole website just around raffling items, which will have, the categories and the buttons and everything, the layout, the way that they think you'd want it for that kind of a site. So I would start there. I would look for a raffle website at themeforest.net. And then if you find the one you want, you can download it either for free or for the small one-time fee, and then upload the zip file here in the appearance section. And then you would have that raffle website pretty much ready to go. You just have to customize the text and the images as you need.
So this attendee noticed you didn't mention anything about CSS or PHP coding. Can we still use on WordPress, or will it break it says them, so I don't know if that is supposed to be theme. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, probably the theme. Yes,
Okay.
CSS, cascading style sheets, and PHP. These are, if you're more of a developer and you're into the coding, you would use these coding languages to write a website. With WordPress, you don't need to know any coding, so that's why people usually turn here. However, you can I would say always, but I'm not sure it's 100%. You can usually edit the CSS of any page directly. You can edit the parent CSS file. You can edit the CSS on individual pages. And for those of you who don't understand that, you can ignore it because I don't think many people will ever need to do that. But yeah, if you know how to edit CSS, you can usually, depending on your theme, edit the CSS directly. And yes, it does warn you that if you change something, you can break the look and the layout of the website. So if you do edit any CSS, then in that case, for the person who asked that, I would make a backup of the whole site before you did anything, in case you made a mistake, and then you could easily restore the backup if you had to.
Next question here is, I have a very simple website. It's basically a glorified business card with a feedback form. It's set up in WordPress.com. No immediate plans for e-commerce, so should I worry about switching to .org?
No, I think if it's working for you as it is, don't go through the hassle of switching. You'll have to go through the hassle of switching when you want features that you aren't going to get on WordPress.com, such as you want to install Google Analytics and really see what's happening on your site, or you want to fine tune your SEO, or you want to sell something, e-commerce, and you don't want to pay $45 a month. At that point, you'll have to make a switch to something different. But right now, if it's working for you, no, I encourage you not to spend time maybe unnecessarily to make any kind of change.
Okay, this next one is two questions, so I'm going to let you answer the first one and then go on to the second one. Are there companies that help change from WordPress.com to .org?
I'm not 100% sure. I had a question like that years ago, and I researched it a bit. I think there were some website services that kind of would automatically help you move stuff over, but the reviews said they often had errors and mistakes. So I don't know if it's any better now. I'm not up to date on the latest companies trying to do that. There's probably somebody out there, but I don't know how well it's going to work. So generally speaking, what I've had to do is copy and paste images and text from a WordPress.com website, but really rebuild it from scratch on WordPress.org as you're using a new layout and a new theme. Hopefully it looks much better and you're really upgrading the site at the same time. So it's not a direct one-to-one copy because you're thinking about, well, what didn't work on the old site? What do you want to improve on the new site? So you're making improvements as you go. And that's usually the best way to think about that process, is an opportunity to improve it, improve your conversion rate of your sales, and improve your visitor duration and things like that.
And the second question was, can you only read GoDaddy email with Outlook?
I don't know that answer. I know GoDaddy has their own email hosting option, which I've never used. I always recommend people will host their domain email address at Google. It's $6 a month, and then it's kind of the Google interface, which I find far superior. But I know a lot of people do like Outlook. So if you're in that ecosystem, it's possible that you can check a GoDaddy hosted email with Outlook, but I'm not 100% sure. I have seen GoDaddy email. They have their own interface on their own website, not Outlook, to check and send emails. So I know that's an option, but I don't know if it integrates with Outlook.
Okay. We had an attendee just say you can get GoDaddy, and you might have just said this. I apologize. I was reading this at the same time. You can get GoDaddy email hosted through Google, and then they go on to say something about routed. So
Okay. Yeah, there's I guess GoDaddy hosts the email, and then you can kind of log in through the Google interface, I would assume. I actually haven't done that, so I don't know many details about that process.
Okay, and we appreciate the feedback from that attendee. Do we have any other questions while we have Cameron's brain to pick? We have about 15 more minutes. Someone added GoDaddy is with Microsoft now. So, any other questions? I don't see anything dropping in. So Cameron, do you have any last words of wisdom?
Well, I think it's a good idea to stay abreast of the latest changes with your business website and knowing what your options are out there. I hope that is clear what to which of you, WordPress is the best platform, and others might prefer something like Wix or Squarespace. just because they're a simpler platform. I didn't get any questions about that this time, and sometimes I do. But just know there's options out there. They'll have pros and cons, and I think WordPress is a good all-around choice for most small business owners who I've met with. But yeah, it doesn't come without its learning curve. So if it's your first time, just be aware you will be spending some time learning about it, but don't get intimidated. There's a lot of great help. You can contact the SBDC if you have questions. Of course, there's a lot of good video tutorials on YouTube about specific things pertaining to WordPress as well.
Great. And we actually have a couple questions dropping in. What if you want to switch themes? How does that work?
So you would just go to the theme selection window and you would upload a new theme. However, you're not going to be able to get a direct one-to-one copy of an old website to a new website theme because the layouts just don't match up exactly. You're going to have text boxes in different spots and images in different spots. So generally speaking, you can click a button to import the old theme to the new one, but there'll be a lot of mistakes, images that just didn't have a place to go or something like that. So you'll have to spend a lot of time reworking the new theme and resetting it up. So it does take some time, but you can switch themes. It's just not as simple as everything automatically works by magic. It's kind of a manual process.
This next question is referring to websites like Fiverr. I think you've talked about Fiverr. When using people there for website work, what security protocols should you put into place? And is there any other general advice about Fiverr help if you've used it before?
Right. So you would find a freelancer to help maybe customize your website on Fiverr or Upwork. I prefer Upwork, but they're very similar platforms. The advice I would give is create that person their own login through the users panel. And don't make them an administrator unless they really need that. Just make them an editor. It's just that does protect you because they can't customize or install new plugins. They can't maybe create a backdoor into your site. Not that they'd want to, if you're a small business, what's the motivation of somebody to do something malicious? But if you don't know them, keeping them as an editor and giving them their own login is the best practice I would take. And then as soon as their work with you is done, you can delete that user account altogether, and then they just have locked out of access.
Let's see. How can you keep your data when you switch themes?
So that's a great question. Normally there's a button that says import kind of your old website data to the new theme, and it doesn't always work perfectly. Probably, because it's always a different process depending on what two themes you're going from and to, how exactly the transition works. I would probably have a backup of the old theme so you can always get the text and the images. You can copy and paste those one by one, or you could open them up in a new browser window so you have those kind of side by side. You have the old one, and you wouldn't click refresh because then you would try to reload from the new one. So you just keep all the old pages as they were, and then you import the new theme, and then you can start editing the new pages based on the old ones. So they're kind of open side by side. So those are two different ways. You could also copy and paste all the text into a Word document or something, and then be able to move it over from there. So whatever your process is. But yeah, I would definitely not take a risk of losing anything from the old theme. You'd want to back up somewhere to make sure you could see that until the new theme's completely set up.
Do you recommend starting a website development business for clients with WordPress?
Well, it's been done a lot. I work with developers across Virginia and even internationally who use WordPress and develop websites for clients. So, I would say there's a lot of people out there doing it. You'd probably want to find a niche, so you can differentiate your services. But if you're passionate about website design, then it's not a bad idea. There's a lot of demand for websites out there. So it's a growing market.
And do you have anything to say about developers trying to keep your site?
I assume they mean like a malicious developer trying to keep the
think
site.
so.
I don't know.
If the person who asked that question wants to elaborate, let's see, Mr. or Mrs. Bay, B-E-Y. You're still here. You want to
Thing I can think
elaborate
is
on that?
have a well-written contract with the developer you hire, and if they don't upkeep their end of the bargain, you can go back to the contract and there's always court, right? There's always legal recourse. But other than that, yeah, it's not a good situation to be in if you feel like you're being held hostage by a developer.
Okay, I haven't seen anything else on that. Do we have any other questions? Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, because they think something about they own all the content. So yeah, I just, like you said, I think I would just make sure I have.
Yeah, I would look at the contract and,
Yeah.
obviously, and it's a good lesson for people who are starting off on the journey. Make sure that you understand whatever agreement you sign with somebody helping you build a website, because they might have a different interpretation. So contracts are important. So make sure that it covers you, it protects you, obviously, as the client, as the owner of the website and owner of probably all the assets on the website as well.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I think we had another question. So I've heard of people selling their businesses. Can the website be sold along with the business, even though it is not owned by the business?
I'm not sure. It sounds like there might be some legal nuances there that would require more investigation. My opinion is I don't see why not, but there might be reasons why not, and I don't know all the details. So probably I would talk to a attorney about that and just get definitive answer.
Okay, last call for questions. Got 9 minutes left. Give a moment, and if nothing drops in, I will wrap us up. I don't see anything, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out for today. I want to thank Cameron. I want to thank everyone for attending, and remind you that you will receive an email with a link to the recording to the slides. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we do hope to see you all at our next session. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.